Well, there have been numerous intriguing storylines in the first week here at the Australian Open, but nothing has generated as much buzz as the extreme heat. At times, temperatures have exceeded 40 degrees Celsius. There's a formula that has been created to determine if it's safe for players to compete.
The wet bulb globe temperature combines the absolute temperature that we hear in the weather forecast with the humidity, the wind speed, and whether it's sunny or cloudy, and comes up with a number. So it's not officially a temperature, it's really a number that is probably our best measure of the heat ability of the players to play in the heat, basically. We have various stages of the extreme heat policy. At 26 wet bulb globe temperature, the ice vests are distributed to the court. The players already have ice sausages available to use around the neck, but the ice vest can also be then utilised at 26. At 30.1, the women can take a 10-minute break between the second and third set, which is something they do also on the WTA Tour. And then at the discretion of the tournament referee, play can be suspended. And there is no absolute wet bulb globe figure, because it's not a question of 1 minute, it's okay to play tennis, and if it pops up by 0.1 to a certain figure, suddenly you have to get everybody off the court. That's not how humans work, and that's not how we therefore can come up with one figure. And I don't think we'll ever be able to come up with an absolute figure when it is unsafe to play. Unfortunately, most tournaments are played in areas where the figure is never exceeded.
This year's Australian Open has had some incredible temperatures. How have the players been dealing with it, and what kind of advice do you give them going on the court?
Look, the players are given, when they sign up for the tournament, they're given an information sheet about the tournament, which contains an information package from myself about the weather they're likely to encounter in Melbourne. I tell them that you can get temperatures from 16 centigrade all the way through to 42 centigrade, which is pretty much par for what we've had the last couple of days, and give them advice on how best to prepare for playing in the extreme heat. The first and foremost is try and get down here as early as possible according to their tournament schedule to become acclimatised to the hot weather. There are certain changes, physiological changes that occur in humans that allow us to become better adapted to exercise in the heat if we exercise in heat over a number of days. So players at the moment, after 3 or 4 days of this weather, will already be noticing the effects, and I'm sure if you ask them how bad is it compared to a couple of days ago, they're probably already starting to noticing the acclimatisation for those that weren't able to get to Brisbane and some of the hotter parts of the world where tennis might have been played. We also encourage just simple things that they can do, possibly to pre-cool themselves before they come on court. They can immerse themselves, either have a shower for 15 minutes or so in temperate water. It doesn't have to be freezing, it has to be about 18 or 19, or we often give them a bath full of that water, that temperature, where they can just immerse themselves for 15 or 20 degrees to drop their core temperature down 0.5 to 1 degree, which means they then feel the discomfort of the radiant heat when they're on court later in their match. The other things that I haven't been seeing a lot of necessarily in the players is to wear something simple like light coloured clothing. We know that if you wear a black shirt, it absorbs the heat. If you wear a white shirt, it reflects the heat. So we really should be seeing all the men in white t-shirts that are loose fitting to allow plenty of air circulation, which allows the sweat that gets evaporated, which cools the skin, to be rapidly removed and replaced by air that can then be used to absorb any further evaporation of the sweat. So there are lots of simple measures they can do. Obviously the fluids is important, but it's important not to overdrink. They get plenty of opportunity to drink, so sometimes players can drink too much and they start to feel uncomfortable because of that effect. And during the match, it's very important to keep the skin as cool as possible by massaging the ice over the skin, because it's the discomfort of the high temperature on the skin that often makes people feel uncomfortable as well when they're playing tennis.
And what's the recovery period from a match if you play a 3 out of 5 set match in temperatures like this?
Well, look, for the main draw singles players, if they're not playing doubles, they've got 48 hours on average to recover. So that is certainly ample opportunity. Their core temperature will return to normal within a few hours of the match. As long as they eat well, sleep well and hydrate well afterwards, within 24 hours they've almost fully recovered. A lot of them obviously go out on court the next day and just do a light practice, and that's reasonable to do because again that gets them out in the hot weather at the moment and gives them further opportunity to acclimatise. But basically 48 hours between singles matches, even a gruelling 5-hour singles match, if anything the players start to feel better about playing in the heat because of that acclimatisation process.
Very challenging conditions for players down under in the first major championship of the year. They're going to have to be very tough both physically and mentally to have success here at the Australian Open.